Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 55. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And on this week's episode, COVID-19 catch-up.
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast, where we believe what one man can do, you can do as well, with a little help from your friends and the proper know-how. Hey, guys, we got Josh, but no Dave this week.
We're slowly coming back.
We actually were going to have Dave, and then he texted.
I hope we're not losing Dave.
I know, right? And he said, hey, guys, I'm feeling under the weather. Don't think I can do this. And then, of course, we chime in like, you got the COVID, and I guess, we shouldn't joke like that. But I mean, well, it wasn't a joke. I mean, I was legitimately asking because I've had friends, Josh included, might have had it. Anyhow, so we were thinking that maybe he had that, but it doesn't sound like it. I think he maybe just has something else. Anyways,
Dave is, I'm not going to call him sickly, but he's a little sickly. He's either got something's coming on, or he's just getting over something. It's like 3 stages, and he's going to hate me for saying that, but I can say it because he's not here.
Right. And I have Josh in studio. So what we did is, and actually I took a photo and we'll have to post it on the Instagram, where I got our mics about 6 feet apart. I mean, I think I'm pretty darn close. And so I think we're good.
Yeah. This is far apart, but
this is how you podcast during COVID-19.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyways, what we wanted to do this week is, so you guys have noticed, if you've been following along, if you're one of our faithful listeners, I did, just life has been crazy. So Josh and Dave have both been trying to figure out work from home, kids around, all kinds of stuff. Josh had been dealing with what he thought was the flu, which who knows, but it could have.
Well, I don't get sick. I mean, very rarely get sick. And if I do, it's like a 24-hour thing. Never had a flu shot. I'm not bragging because it's probably dumb, but I've never had a flu shot. I don't think I've ever really had the flu. Like every year or two, I get a really good dose of like 24-hour fever, just aches and all that. But it's 24 hours and we're good. This time, this came in, fever, one night, fever breaks. I'm hoping that's it, the next morning. And then I just feel like I've been hit by a dump truck.
And you lost your smell.
Day 2, my sense of smell and along with that sense of taste gone 100%. Could not.
I think you had it,
I
man.
lost 6.5 pounds because I just didn't feel like eating.
Now this was what? This was like 3.5 weeks ago.
This was like, March 9th-ish.
Okay, so this was before.
It was the week of the first time like President Trump went on
it's here.
And said, and so that Monday I woke up sick. Tuesday or Wednesday, I was still feeling bad. And then the coronavirus talk started happening. And I told my wife, I said, I think things are about to get weird. Like, I think you should go to the grocery store. So like we went to the grocery store and stocked up on that Wednesday. And then like the next day or two,
right,
there was a run on toilet paper.
Yeah,
like
there you go.
All good Americans.
Which was ridiculous because so I went like a week after that toilet paper scarcity happened, go to Costco. Oh, look, there's a wall of toilet paper. You know?
And just to wrap up my pity party over here. 6 straight days of 100% no taste, no smell. And it took a good 10 days for whatever that was to run out.
And I was going to say, this was before that information came out.
Yeah.
So this was well before that. I didn't see that information on a symptom of corona being no taste, no smell.
It's like until the next week or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read that you were the first person I'd seen that on. And so I was like, that's crazy, because now they're being able to do some studies on everybody coming out of China on follow-up symptoms and all that stuff. And yeah, one of the symptoms, like kind of the precursor symptoms, was that no taste, no smell thing, which is just wild because that's never happened to me.
And none of your family got any of it.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Did I have it? Did I not? Kids are, apparently really resistant to it. So my kids may have it just went through, no symptoms.
That's what's crazy to me is the fact that you could be completely asymptomatic and have it.
Right.
That's what's scary.
Yeah. And pass it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways,
we've been pretty much since I got sick, we pretty much have been pretty tight on the self quarantine, the family quarantine.
yeah, this is actually a big step for Josh to come over to the studio tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Up till now, I was like, not going to happen. I'm not coming in.
Now, we did do Bronco rides the other day for the kids. So for those of you that don't know, I have a 1975 Ford Bronco. And it was kind of like the first like really, really nice day. It was going to be super warm. It was probably in the 80s?
It got up to 80 that day.
Oh, yeah, totally. And so I'm like, you know what? Taking the Bronco out of hibernation, backed it out, changed the oil, and I don't have a back seat in it. So it's basically you can only take one kid at a time. But Josh's youngest, or not youngest, actually.
The middle.
You're middle now. Gosh. He had never been in the Bronco, and so he got the Bronco ride. So
he loved it, and then he cried for the next hour because he couldn't keep
next
going.
hour?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh no, poor Duke.
Yeah, I was like, Mr. Tim said we can go again later, and later to him is like a curse word. He knows that means not right now. And
right.
He's only 3.
Hey man, well, anytime.
Appreciate it. It was fun. It was super fun.
Yeah, so that was kind of like a coronavirus approved activity.
Yeah.
And we even wiped down the steering wheel before I handed the keys off to Josh.
Yeah. So we were family separated.
We were responsible, and hey, the top's off the thing, so I think you're good. Right?
I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So what about? And I felt bad for your Bronco with all the pollen because when it's 80 degrees in the spring in Georgia,
whatever.
We have an inch of pollen outside.
It's been crazy. The other day it was just a fog of pollen. So those of you that are not in the Southeast and you've never experienced this pollen, so listeners of ours that are in other parts of the country, it's insane. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the other day when we're outside, there was a literal yellow fog, actual pollen fog.
Well, when the wind would kick up, you can see it pop out of the trees, and it gets in your teeth. You can taste it.
We're just kind of used to it, but every year's different because it kind of depends on the amount of rainfall. So if you get a good decent amount of rain that's spaced out pretty evenly, you don't notice it quite as much. But if you don't have that, it's insane.
It's nuts
it
right
is.
Now.
Yeah, I can't even. You just have to experience it.
Well, I was cutting the grass the other day, and like my mower is just billowing pollen out the side of it. I have a mower story.
Okay, go for it.
You can't, man, fail. So first time getting the mower out for the season. I've got it tarped. Didn't follow any of our advice from the, winterize, because we don't have to winterize here.
Right.
I kept my mower outdoors under a nice mower cover.
I have a mower story myself.
And so no rodents had gotten into it. The only thing I failed on was I've got a seat cover, which is really nice because it keeps your seat nice. That thing had mildewed. And I even washed it and it's just ruined. It's not ruined, but it's ugly now. But anyway, the big fail was couldn't get it cranked because the battery had gone dead. Right. And I didn't unhook it. I didn't trickle charge it. Didn't do anything. So that's lesson 1. I'm going to do that next year. I'm going to take the battery out of it. So I couldn't crank it. Well, the problem is I always jump start it using my car, and it's at the bottom of it's on the lower side of my house.
Oh, you're used to having it in the garage.
Yeah, so I had to push that thing up the hill. I mean, it's not a crazy hill, but that mower, I don't know how much it weighs, 400 or 500 pounds. So yeah, I had to push that thing up the hill to get it jump started. And then part 2, this is a good part of the story.
You could have taken the battery out of your car.
Yeah, I could have, taken either battery either way to, I guess, charge. I don't know. But yeah, from my car, not going to do it. I pushed it. It took very little time, but a lot.
Don't you have one of those battery pack jump starter things?
I don't. I'm one of those too. I'm like failing. There's a bunch of lessons that are happening.
That's funny because I don't have one of those either, and I would like to have one.
That's so easy. That would just.
And we talked about that on a previous podcast, did we not?
We should listen to our own show.
Yeah, we really should.
So the funny part of the story is I get it cranked. I'm like, all right, it's cranking. And No, that's not true. I leave it on, and it's turning over. Like, it's plenty of power, but it's just not kicking on. And I get off the thing, and I get back on the thing, and I get off, and I'm like, okay, Josh, you are being stupid. Like,
Something
spark,
super simple.
I'm going through the checklist: spark, oxygen, fuel. Like, what do we do? And so I just count to 10, get calm, because I got to cut the grass.
And you're just like, I can, man.
I can,
man.
Channeling my inner, you can, man. So I figure out that the blade is engaged.
Oh,
I sat there for 5 minutes trying to get the motor to turn over, but if the blade is
it's a safety feature.
Engaged, it's not going to crank. So I was like, all right, good job, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I cranked my mower up too, and I had my son come out. I was like, okay, Luke, come help me. Because fully anticipating I'm going to have to jump this thing off. Same thing. I'm going to have to push it over to the car, hook up the battery cables, because I didn't trickle charge it. I just left it. I didn't disconnect it. I didn't follow our advice. I get on the thing. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just try it. Boom. First try. Nice. It's just been sitting there all winter. Just cranks right up. That battery, I don't know. It's like a Duracell lawn battery.
Yeah. They make lawn batteries, because I was looking at new batteries.
Okay. Well, get that one, because I've never had any problem.
Do you know how old it is? Mine's a 2012, and I think it's done. I think it's.
I feel like, I don't know, it's at least a few years old.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it cranked up and I was good to go. I did put some air in the tires, but other than that, it was good. So I was able to cut all my weeds. So there we go.
Yeah. The first weeks of yard work have been crazy, and it's been raining here a lot.
Oh yeah.
Except for the past week. But my grass, I've been cutting it like every 5 days, like not even waiting a week. And it's still like clumpy, like my grass is just going
There's
crazy.
These magical times of the year where Josh's lawn is just lush.
It looks like shag carpet.
It is amazing.
Like really nice shag carpet.
Now, dog days of summer, not so much. He's got a really large yard with fescue, and so it's just really difficult keeping that water during the dead of summer.
There's special times though. It looks great.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so another story. I fixed my AC. So I thought, ahead of the warmer temperatures, I'm going to turn my AC, and I'm talking about my house AC, and turn my AC on and just test it. See, everything's working right. I wasn't even going to really run it. I mean, it was like 70 something that day. And I was just like, we're about to get warmer weather, so let me just test it. Thing didn't kick on. So now I know from previous experience, because I paid somebody to come out and change the stupid run capacitor. And now I know that that's a very common thing to go out. Those of you that don't know, now I'm not going to go into what exactly a run capacitor does, because I'm not qualified to answer that question. But I know this is a common part to fail on. This is a part for your outside air compressor. Your AC compressor, not air compressor. Your AC compressor, your outside unit. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so there's a run capacitor. Usually they're dual capacitors. And so one unit does two different things. Anyways, doesn't matter. That's a very common part to go out. And it's a very DIY thing. And it's seriously under $15. So I ordered one on Amazon. It came early. I changed it and it works.
Nice. So
I feel like years ago, before I knew better, I think I paid a guy like $200 to come out and change that.
Yeah.
And these are something that's very common to go out, especially if you're in very hot climates, because these capacitors cannot take the heat. And so they will, it's not uncommon for maybe every other year, if you're in a really, really warm climate, for those things to be going out.
Yep.
So,
especially if you have a house that's not super well insulated,
exactly,
and the thing kicks on and off all the time.
Exactly.
I'm sure that puts wear on it.
Yeah. Another indication that is out is if your unit is on and it doesn't shut off, because I think that has something to do with it as well. And so that was my previous issue. It just wouldn't shut off. And so I'm like, what in the world's going on? Well, that was the run capacitor, but this time it wouldn't come on. And it was nice too, because I had a friend of mine contact me, and he was saying that he was having similar issues. I was like, or he was asking for a referral for an HVAC guy. I was like, well, what's it doing? And they told me, I was like, okay, don't call anybody. This is what you need to do. So if you guys listening are turning your AC on for the first time of the season and it doesn't come on, there's a chance that it could be the run capacitor. Go on Amazon. Mine was $13.45. Done.
Yeah. And for those of you who haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We've had so many recent posts of people saying, my washer is doing this, or this part of my washer is gone. What do you recommend? 5 or 6 people jump in, answer the question. It's a great place.
Yeah, because it's you could spend some time on the forums.
We're crowdsourcing it.
Yeah, there are there's a multitude of forums out there that, lawn, garden, what have you, DIY stuff. But the difference with the Facebook thing is it's more of like an immediate thing.
Yeah.
So people are on there enough throughout the day that if you ask a question, chances are good someone's going to chime in with some reasonably helpful information.
Yeah.
Because we've got some very, very smart guys on there.
You'll also get some good gifts as well.
Yeah. But exactly.
Some knowledge thrown in it.
Right. On
top.
All right. So, Josh, have you been out? I know you've been out to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's this, I hope and pray that we never experience anything like this again in our lifetime. I don't think we will. I mean, this is a kind of an unprecedented once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is sad. It's really sad, especially for the small businesses, for the restaurants that aren't chains. I mean, I hope
I'm already losing business because of it.
I'm sure. Yeah. Almost every entrepreneur owns their own business, but especially the retail because we've been told do not go, don't go to these establishments. You can get it to go or whatever. So I really hope we can come back from this. And again, we're recording on March 30th. I know we don't like to be too time sensitive here, but this thing's changing so fast. I think this is the worst wave we're going to get for this coronavirus.
You think so?
Because there's no vaccine. This is why this is happening. This
is what I want to know. Is this going to be like a cyclical thing?
I think it is, but I think each cycle is going to get smaller until we have a vaccine in place.
Okay.
Which is, fast tracked. I've heard that's like 14 months or something.
Wow.
So, but I think, when it goes through the population, you get basically inoculated to that strain. And so this first wave, and again, all this social distancing, we're just trying to, and the term's getting overused now, flatten the curve, but flatten the curve means we don't want to overwhelm our hospitals. People are going to get this thing. And yes, our elderly population is being hit the hardest, but we don't want to overwhelm the hospitals. That is the concern for this. And that's why it's so extreme right now. And look, I'm very libertarian and a lot of our political things going on. I don't like the money that we're having to spend. I don't like the just total lockdown thing. But I think this is the first wave extreme. And then I think the summer's going to come. From what I've heard, the virus doesn't do well in hot weather like most others.
Is that legitimate? Because I've
heard that. That's all. I try. Everyone's a Facebook expert now, but no, the people I'm reading, the doctors at the White House, the epidemiologist that was on Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen that episode, it's really good. He talked about this like a week or two before it all blew up. And they're saying that, in the summer, it's going to just warmer weather. It doesn't do as well. So they're saying another cycle is going to come in the next fall, winter, just like normal flu season. But again, this is not a flu. There's no vaccine for it. It's a different type of virus. And then as more people get it, then we build up this almost herd immunity. Right. That like kind of how a vaccine works, and vaccines do work. Once it cycles through a couple times, then it's going to be more relaxed. So I don't know what the fall is going to look like, but that is what I'm anticipating, is that this is just extreme lockdown because we have no protections against this. Now there's arguments on, I'm not going to get into it because I honestly don't care. I'm just following the best knowledge I can find. Right. Is that, we could isolate big metro areas like New York's getting hammered because of just population density. And so if you did these extreme measures in these tight metro pockets, it would be just as effective as doing it to the whole population.
Well, and that's the reason, our governor here in Georgia has gotten some flack because he didn't take the more extreme measures of doing it, because he's citing, look, there's all these areas of the state that are very rural and they're not being affected by this really at all. Mm-hmm. And so to do a statewide shelter in place mandate or what have you is not really.
Yeah. I think the big complaint is that it doesn't feel sophisticated enough. I mean, and there's two different political extremes. There's people crying for the president to make all these just, huge decisions for everyone, make it all the same. And then the other side of the argument is no, let each city and county and then state make their own
and that's
decisions.
What's happened. So our local county government has issued, I mean, it's not like it's enforceable, but they did a declaration of emergency, and part of that was a shelter-in-place order.
Yeah, and we are one of the top 5 counties in Georgia for the virus, and so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, you're right. Like, there is a pocket in, if you're from Georgia, Albany, Georgia, or otherwise known as Albany, there was like a pastor that went to a funeral, and that one person has now been responsible for like over 200 cases and 17 deaths. Like, they've traced it back to one person. So when that stuff happens, then yes, that county should be like, okay, nobody's going outside. Sorry. And so that's the balance we need to get. I hope our elected officials are going to get more savvy and sophisticated about how we react next season, or when the next virus comes that we are not ready for. And hopefully we'll get more ready, obviously. But it's just a crazy time, man. It's very unfortunate, but eye-opening. It's like you said, we started this section on how empty everything is, but on the other side, now people are like flocking to parks. And
that's what I was going to talk about. So I've been directly affected by this because I go every other day to my mountain, Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, which is the nation's top visited battlefield national park, yes. I'm pretty sure. And they shut it down finally. So they were, at the beginning of this, they were like, okay, look, we're going to stay open. They shut down the visitor center. So they're like, if you come, there's not going to be any bathrooms. Do that elsewhere before you come. But we're going to leave it open. And they did. But it was just overrun. Like, I would go there and there would be so many people out. I think everybody initially they were like, well, sweet. I can't go to work, working from home. I got time. It's nice weather. Springtime's here. I'm going to go hit up the park because it's outside. So what does it matter?
Right.
And so even our local county, they shut down all the parks as well. So there's no parks.
The only thing open is state parks are still open right now. They're going
to shut that down.
I'm guessing it's coming, but today they're open. But,
yeah. Now I've still seen people at the parks. They'll just park somewhere else and then walk to it.
Well, what's crazy is I've still been running. And even through my sickness, I ran like almost my normal schedule. Probably a mistake. It probably prolonged it like a day or so of me feeling bad. But I've never seen and I know the weather's getting warmer, but I've never seen so many people out. Like I was having to like dodge people on the sidewalk, like get 6 feet around everybody.
It's got to be a combination of
cabin fever,
and everybody's just locked up and they're like, shoot, I'm going to go. Yeah. And then I think all these people that had all these hours logged sitting in their car in traffic going to and from work now have these hours back. Yeah. Okay, another thing that I was thinking about is all these people that for the longest time thought to themselves, you know what, I could totally do my job from home, but my company won't let me. And now they're having the chance to prove themselves. Yeah. And so I'm thinking when these people go back to work, they're going to be like, look, I can do this from home, and I just did, and I was more productive. And so this needs to be on the table. Think about how many people are going to go back to their regular jobs and go into the office, and they're going to say, you know what? This is now on the table because I've done it.
Well, our buddy Phil from the Time to Pivot podcast in Nashville, he just released an episode called like The Case for Remote Work.
Oh, I didn't listen to that.
So go listen to that. It's because, that's exactly his thought is,
if we can make this work.
Well, you know what, and along the same lines, I was thinking about this early on is, you know, who's hating this is property management companies that lease out all these floors to companies that are now realizing we can work remote. We only need one floor in this building instead of 3.
Right.
Those property management companies not happy.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of those people that were, you know, they're thinking maybe the company's like, well, we could do remote, but we don't really want to do remote. We think people are more productive when they come into the office.
Yeah.
But now the waters are being tested.
Yeah, it's been forced. I mean, every company. I'm amazed. Matt LaMarche, the real estate agent that came on our show, my cousin, he's doing virtual showings. They're moving along as well as they can. There's still some documents in Georgia that have to be signed in person at closing. But other than that, like everything is electronic. You can walk someone through a house. You know, as long as you're social distancing, someone can walk through the house. You can wait outside. I mean, everybody's adapting.
Yeah, I even saw a photo. I don't think it was from Matt, but another realtor, and they were showing a closing, and the closing attorney had moved his table outside.
Oh, fun.
And they were having a closing outside because it was a nice day.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, that way they're able to have plenty of distance that way. So that was interesting.
We could talk forever. One more point I'd like to make is recently we started my kids' baseball season. Like we talked to in an earlier.
Oh yeah, that's probably
podcast.
that's just done.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's a wrap. Like, and what's crazy is our season had been rained out weeks and weeks and weeks, and so we practiced once and had one game, and then it got shut down.
No,
that's really sad in one respect, but what we're realizing is, you know, we work and everybody's got different situations, but especially if you're in a household where 1 or 2 people work full time, you know, 9 to 5 jobs, corporate, whatever, you know, you work all week. And then the weekend is a lot of times, especially it's seasonal, but your weekend's booked. Like you've got all these activities that you have to do during the weekend. And so there's almost very little time for a little just recess, you know, a reset. Yeah. And now it's being forced on us, and it's so
this is peaceful, massive forced social experiment in that regard, because everyone is having a forced sabbatical, if you will, because you just can't go do and have a crazy busy schedule.
And nothing is scheduled. Like you can't. There's no baseball. There's no extracurricular anything. The gyms are closed.
This could have a fundamental shift. And I mean, there's all kinds of directions we could go here, but even just the past, 3 weeks, the amount of time that people have had to spend, alone, alone, but I guess just with their family, right? That they would otherwise be going out, eating at restaurants, baseball practice, band practice, whatever that is, and you're just not having to do that. Hopefully people are spending their time more productively instead of just binge watching Netflix. I think that's actually what's happening right now.
Well, I think, I'm guessing the more people I see outside is people are getting sick of that. You know, how long can I be indoors? Yeah, I think we're going to see some maybe a little bit of cultural change as we come out of this. Because I wouldn't consider our family super busy. We got young kids, and only one of them was doing one activity, and that felt like enough. And I know that it gets exponentially crazier as the kids get older, but man, this has kind of been nice. And I'm not a social butterfly. So being like quarantined is not the worst thing in the world to me, but I value that opportunity to just be able to focus on like, what can we do for our household or for our family and then that also gives the opportunity to help other people. We've taken food up to the food pantry because a lot of kids whose families rely on lunches from school and breakfast from school are now like school's closed, but parents are still working. Like, how do you juggle that? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. It's amazing. There's all kinds of things I think we'll be unpacking for a very long time that we've learned during this. I was going to mention, so both my kids have had Zoom meetings with their entire class.
Yeah.
I sent you guys, Josh and his wife, I sent a video of my first grader, my girl, Eleanor, and this was her first time having a Zoom meeting, period. And she had it with her entire first grade class. So if you can imagine a Zoom meeting full of first graders, it was just mass chaos because they hadn't seen each other in like 2 weeks. And she just loves all her classmates. And then everybody's on there and they can see each other and they can all talk. It was just pandemonium.
Yeah, we had our first one today actually with our middle child. Who's only it's a class of 2 and 3 year olds. And there was only like 8 or 9 on the call with the 2 teachers. But what was so funny to me is, yes, like the kids were just like, hey, like just talking to each other. But the other thing is how mind blowing that would have been for us as kids, just from a technology perspective. Yes. He's just sitting there like, I mean, he FaceTimes his grandparents all the time. So it's just zero being able to see your whole class. He doesn't move the needle. Like,
what would we have done in 1987 or whatever if this happened? I mean, the other thing too, like I'm thinking through like, what about, okay, I'm thinking through my senior year of high school. You're getting springtime fever and then this thing hits. And let's say that you're just like, you're not doing well in school. You're just kind of getting by. You're like, okay, if I could just make it to graduation. Cause like, look, we've been there, right?
Yeah.
And then this happens. And then you're already not, you already don't do well with like homework. And then this happens. What in the world is going to happen?
Yeah.
If you're like teetering on that, like, I may not graduate scale, I don't even know.
Or maybe you thrive in it because you hate being cooped up in school.
Maybe. I don't know.
There's just we can go down 100 rabbit holes.
Oh gosh, so much to think about.
I feel bad for the seniors now. Yeah. Like they're trying to get ready to go to college. And basically the rest of school's been canceled ish. Like that's a huge unknown. Yeah. But what if something like this happened in 1987? What would that do to the economy then? No remote work options. Everybody then truly would just be sitting around twiddling.
I think we would just have people.
They would just power through it.
No, civil disobedience and a bunch of people would die. That's what would happen.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. When maybe the government would even be. I mean, it's happened in the past. Like
totally.
I mean, I don't want to get too political, but 2009. H1N1 that took out a ton of people if you want to look up the statistics, but we didn't really know about it. So I think that's what would have happened back in the day is the government's like, hey, pandemics come through and we'll work through it.
Yeah,
literally.
Literally that's what would have happened.
So new charted territories, and we can wrap up today. I think we've explored.
There's so much to talk about. We're going to be talking about this. This is unprecedented. We're going to bring it back up on future podcasts. So that's for sure. Hopefully we'll have Dave back with us next week. I'm kind of actually glad that we're week to week right now because we don't have like a backlog of shows, and so we're recording literally. Well, today we're recording literally 2 days before this episode's going to drop. And so we're able to talk about current events and it all being timely. So that, that's at least a benefit during this whole Corona craziness. But anyways, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in and spending some time with Josh and I this week. We don't have a bonus segment this week, but it's just kind of like a roundtable discussion of this Corona craziness. But hopefully we'll have Dave back with us next week. So, hey, you guys, you got all this time at home now. You need to be checking off that honey-do list.
Bonus time.
And if you've got questions about the project that you're working on, join our Facebook group page and chime in there and ask your questions there. If you would, take some time to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and take a few minutes to share this podcast with a friend. It really would mean a lot to us. We will catch you guys next time.